Thanks for joining us this morning. My name is Bob Mcilvaine, and I'm going to be using the recent acquisition of Velan by Flowserve as an example of how the aggregation or combination of all the most profitable niches can improve EBITDA, and in the case of the Velan Flowserve combination, possibly even double it. So let's move on to the slideshow itself. And I'm going to just remove one little blur here that's on the screen that says "got it." Okay, you got to get that "got it" out of there. Got it out of there. Okay. Flowserve has acquired Velan, creating a company with over 1% of the world's industrial valve markets. Both companies have strong research efforts and high-level technology. However, Velan EBITDA is only 6%. Flowserve is only 14%. And the top valve companies and a few of the top flow and treat companies have EBITDA close to 30%. So the question is, how can this new combination achieve those sorts of EBITDAs, or can they? And the combination is enhanced by the fact that you've got pumps and compressors and that are also in the same markets and give you a value proposition that can be different than if you're just selling valves. So identifying the niches is what we're going to be doing here. And let's just review the fact that where the sales in the various companies stand. As you can see, IDEX has got revenues EBITDA very close to 30%. And some of the other companies around 20% or so. And so Flowserve and Velan have EBITDA that needs to be boosted. So we'll move on here. And the target's 30% market share, or 600, pardon me, the niche is a market opportunity of 10 million per year with a 20% market share, or 2 million. So the direct sales cost is estimated around 5%. So 100,000 can be spent on each niche, and an equal amount can also be spent on validating the value proposition. With the niche focus, the company understands the unique customer needs and provide superior products which create the larger EBITDA opportunity. So it is, I think, a fact that a lot of small companies have grown because they really understood their customers. They built $10 million companies with high EBITDA. And what we're saying here is, let's duplicate that in thousands of different niches in a large company. So the coordination of Velan efforts with Flowserve can be quicker and more effective with a niche market approach, which uses the industrial internet of wisdom. So this presentation provides a roadmap on how this can be achieved. Next slide. So here is just an analysis that shows that the combined revenues of the two companies are in the flow control over 1.4 billion, but in the valves specifically, approximately 920 million. And the number of niches that are required to achieve that revenue are one number here, but if the EBITDA is only a fraction of the 30%, then you either need a lot more niches or you need to boost the EBITDA in the existing niches. So the sales cost that can be obtained, let's say, and still maintain the 30% EBITDA for the two combined companies is about 46 million. So how do you distribute the activities of the various salespeople? And you're assuming the average salesperson costs around $1 million a year. So you got 46 man years to distribute for this activity. Move on to the next slide. Flowserve flow control revenues are 2.5 times those of Velan. So but obviously with the lower EBITDA, Velan has to be covering more niches. So the challenge here is to get the right number of niches, get the right niches, and to make each of them profitable to the standpoint that you get a 30% EBITDA. And it requires regional OEM and product management activity as well as your local salesmen. And the major goal should be to increase the EBITDA rather than just the sales. Move on here. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the acquisitions, but moving on to the next slide here. The Velan acquisition is the largest, is certainly a very large one. The only thing comparable in terms of the size of companies is Emerson Tyco, which resulted in the roll-up again of a lot of these niche valve companies in the 1990s as part of Tyco. So that moving on beyond I think let's go to the next slide here, because I think we've covered the overview of the acquisitions. And here are some of the actual acquisitions that Flowserve has taken place here. And let's move on to the next slide here. I think it's, the starting point here is that Flowserve purchased the flow control division from Inventus back in 2002. And revenues at the time were over 500 million. And flow control and Flowserve blossomed by 2015. By the 2015 peak, were with revenue of over 4.5 billion. And then there was the oil and gas problem where the price dropped precipitously, and so did the revenues of the Flowserve at the time. But EBITDA has improved from a negative to the present 14%. Moving on. So, identifying the niche markets, and first of all, you need, in order to get the high EBITDAs, you need a high market share. And the combined company does not have a broad high market share, as no valve company has a broad high market share. You're talking a few percent in even the strongest markets, such as refining, where if you're looking at pursuing a market broadly, you're looking at lots and lots of competition where you have only a small percentage. So I think what this shows is you need those niche markets in order to get any chance of getting high EBITDA. If you focus on broad markets, you're not going to be a market leader. Moving on. So while Flowserve is now one of the largest valve companies, it does not have even a 10% market share. So this makes the point I was just addressing here. And the sub-niche value proposition is needed to be created. And the assignments for salespeople in the combined company should be determined by the sub-niche facts, factors, and forecasts. And moving to the next slide here. So what are some of these niches? Well, for instance, NTPC is a large Indian power company that's been buying Velan motor-operated gate valves for supercritical power plants. And supercritical power plants, actually, the numbers are increasing, the replacement market is increasing, and so forth. So this is the type of niche where it's more than 10 million a year, and it should be pursued. And obviously with NTPC, but with Duke Power and all the other major nuclear power plants around the world, supercritical power plants around the world. Pardon me, there are very few of them in the United States, but China has a slew of them, and so do many other Asian countries. So that's a big opportunity. And things like LNG liquefaction tankers, where Velan has been supplying gate valves for 50 years. And molten salt concentration is a small niche in the solar market, but an important one, and where there's success stories as well. So this is, I think, some examples of the niches. So the 2023 outlook for Flowserve is positive. I'm not going to get into their details. You can, what we're hoping is that you'll be able to read these slides at your leisure for some of the details, rather than go through all the details in the video presentation, because we are making the slides available. So we'll move on there. The importance of the niche opportunities is the ability to combine products in a particular niche. It might be for a single client. It might be for an application like hydrogen. So that the fact that all these particular products are available related to valves and flow control mean that there's the opportunity to create a large number of very profitable niches with a very unique value proposition. Move on here. So here are some examples of the superiority that the company, that Velan, has in pursuing some of these niches. Like this is an important one where it's hydrogen, extremely difficult hydrogen applications in nuclear fusion. Move on to the next one here. And so, the Velan Italy has its own expertise in LNG and hydrogen. And so these are niche markets because they're niche products. Cryogenics has got its own very special needs and so forth here. So there's plenty of opportunity, and we'll move on again. So let's look at the hydrogen niches. So Velan has the various products for hydrogen that are explained here. We won't go into the details. Yeah, one of the new develops Velan has is explained here by one of their people, and you can go back and read that if at your leisure. We'll move on here. And Flowserve is also involved in the hydrogen market in a couple different ways. We go into a couple of agreements that they have to pursue the various different, two of the different markets, one in mobile and one in the non-mobile market here. So we'll move on there. You know, in the combined niches, hydrogen and LNG have similarities, and so you're going to possibly get some niches where you've got both LNG and hydrogen if you're dealing with a particular client that might be involved in both of them. They could be combined into one niche. So move on. The millions of forecasts for the most profitable markets in hydrogen, including one specific report we just came out with on valves, identifies a number of the niches here and provides very detailed forecasts for each niche. So we'll move on. And when we talk about the niches, they can be any combination of production methods, forms. It can be, gases, can be compressed liquid, or they can, ammonia is another major way of moving hydrogen in an economical manner. And the sources of this can be water, but they can also be what they call blue hydrogen or gray hydrogen, where you've got coal and waste products and so forth there. And you've got applications in transportation, storage, and then in use by a number of different industries, as well as for mobile applications. Go on. Here are some to take away out of our market report, which shows the growth of hydrogen in the Asian market, but by industry for valves shows a very small market now, and not in a medium-sized market by 2028, which you can see is much bigger. So you've got a very rapid growth rate there. But if you project that on for another 20 years or so, we see, and of course the industry sees, a very substantial market for hydrogen. So we are putting together a lot of useful information that can go into these niche forecasts. Moving on. So here is one of the Excel spreadsheets that we have just for the chemical industry and just for ball valves, and the forecasts for each of a number of countries in the Americas. And these are tiny numbers, but they all become sub-niches in a niche program. And so having these forecasts down at this very granular level gives some confidence and guide to the salespeople as to how to pursue these applications. Next. So the end users are often large enough to be one or two niches in a company program. So you can have an OEM end user product manager as well as an OEM product manager. And a company like BASF has over 2% of the opportunities. However, a lot of it is coordinated out of Germany, so it's kind of a delicate way as to how you handle that. So, but in any case, the identification of the niches for the large end users is important. And that is included here. So this is just an example of the very valuable way that you can identify each niche. In this particular case, it's the chemical hydrogen valves for the chemical industry, ball valves. And you can assign a percentage responsibility to each sales person. So the local salesperson, for instance, on the first line here, has a 68% responsibility, where the regional manager has a 10% responsibility, and the product manager has 20%, mainly because it's a new niche and you need more than the usual amount of help from the product manager that you would have otherwise. And somebody like BASF is 2% of that total market. And so the BASF contact salesperson would be somewhat involved as well. So this is a way that you assign responsibility in every one of the thousands of niches. You've got local sales people, you've got product people, so forth. So the clarity, I think, that you receive here is very, very specific and gives you a guide. But I think more importantly, too, it gives all these local people the power to say, this isn't right, that, the market's not bigger or smaller. It needs to be, the activity needs to be redistributed. So you have a tremendous amount of potential to get the collaboration of people within and out of a particular division. So move on here. So, the products and geography and technologies and so forth all mesh together to create these niches. And it's very important to mix and match and get the right niche combinations. And so, but again, the facts and factors are what dictate that. We'll move on here. So here's a Trunnion valve example. We've just done hydrogen, and we'll quickly go through Trunnion valves. So Trunnion valves are, as opposed to floating valves, are likely to provide a higher EBITDA, and so distinguishing those opportunities is important. And the next few slides will show how we happen to be doing that in a number of different industries. So we'll move on to the, first of all, we have this value proposition with the facts and factors. So in every case, you have to go in to the whys and wherefores. Why is it justifiable to pay more for Trunnion than for floating valves? And where does it actually pay off? Where are the severe service applications where the more expensive Trunnion valves are needed? So move on. And with the facts and factors, what you have to do is start with a factor that may need to be changed eventually. But for instance, for each size of ball valve, the potential use varies by all these different applications. So here you have a demonstration of what we did in 2015, actually, in one application for Trunnion ball valves. And this is the niche sort of activity that needs to be undertaken to provide the reliable forecasts. So move on to the next slide. And the breakout also has to be as what percentage of the market is going to be Trunnion and what's going to be floating. And again, that is very dependent on the applications themselves. So move on. So the takeaways for Trunnion valves, that the value proposition for Trunnion is different than for floating. A superior Trunnion ball valve can result in the 30% EBITDA. The justification for that higher price varies by industry. a wide range of sizes is required. There are a number of applications. A starting point in the niche forecast is the calculation of the percentage split by support type and industry for each of a number of valve sizes, and of course in each country. So move on here. So in summary, the two companies will combine for just over 1% of the world market in valves, with EBITDA of 6% for Velan and 14% for Flowserve. The EBITDA is not that of a market leader, of market leaders. On the other hand, the companies have impressive products, technology, international reach, and management that's certainly being admired, and other tools which should allow them to achieve the 30% EBITDA if they adopt a program such as this. The companies are engaged in thousands of niches and need to identify those niches which can be most profitable, and that this has to be done at the sub-niche level and includes value propositions in each sub-niche. Sales assignments should be dictated by the niche value propositions. Millions of forecasts provide the foundation of the niche activity. Next slide here. Two examples are provided in the forecasts here and in the slides that you'll be able to look at. And one was the hydrogen, and one was the and one was the Trunnion valve. So both an application and a product. So both companies have been pursuing hydrogen. So that's one reason we use that as an example. Of forecasts for small countries in the Americas, for instance, were aggregated, and that's what has to be done in these niches so that you get a niche value that meets the 10 million criteria. And again, the forecasts for specific sub-niches like Trunnion ball valves are necessary. So we've tried in this analysis to put enough detail in to show that for a combined company such as Flowserve and Velan, that the niche aggregation and pursuit is valuable enough to increase EBITDA by as much as doubling it in this case. And so we hope you'll take a look at the slides themselves. We have all sorts of information on the whole program on our website, and we certainly welcome the opportunity to discuss this further with you. And I personally would be glad to do it. And my phone number and email address are readily accessible on our website. So this is Bob Mcilvaine saying thanks for spending the time with us today.